All right. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks everybody for joining. Hopefully everything is going smoothly and we don't have any problems. Today we are going to be doing the super long overdue live stream chat for the POC Book Club's March pick. I know. But yes, we're going to be talking about Fat Chance Charlie Vega. Hello, everybody. Welcome so much. Welcome so much. Welcome to the stream. I am a mess, by the way. Also, hold on one second. Ugh. Yeah, I had to fix my septum piercing. That thing always gets crooked, and then it looks really weird when I fix it. So. But yes, I am so excited for us to go over this. And yeah, thank you so much for joining, everyone. It's so nice seeing you guys. I guess a little bit of a breakdown of what we're going to be doing. I feel like I haven't done this in ages, but we will be doing the non-spoiler talk in the beginning for the first couple of minutes, and then we're going to dive in to the spoiler bits. As you can see, I did a bit of a number on this one, so hopefully we're going to have a fun time talking about the book. I guess I will see or ask you guys, has those of you who have been here, have you read the book? Who have been here? Those of you who are currently here, have any of you read the book, or are you just here to see what it's about, like the non-spoiler part of it, or what? So let me know in the chat if you've read it and or not, so that I have an idea of how long we should do the non-spoiler bit, basically. And again, yeah, hello. Oh my goodness. Oh, we've got someone who finished it. Nice. Obviously, if you didn't, that's also okay, but it's definitely exciting to hear that some people have, so that we can talk about it, because yeah, this was a good one. I guess to talk about, or like while people are putting in their answers on whether or not they've read it, I'll give a little bit of a backstory for this. So we have, I guess this would be a coming of age romance that discusses some pretty important topics around weight and race and things like that, but mostly weight. And we have our main character, Charlie Vega, who is overweight, and she obviously has different things that she has to experience or live through because of this. She has a wonderful best friend, which I really do want to call out. That was something that I really enjoyed, and recommend the friendships that we kind of have in here. There is some family issues or dynamics that you deal with in the book as well that gets discussed. And yeah, a lot of different topics that I feel like it goes over. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's not that it's hard to talk about. I definitely feel like I have plenty of things to talk about. I just think I'm a little bit nervous, you guys. Let's be honest. It's been a while since we've done our last live show. So I did take a ton of notes, though. I didn't in the very beginning. Like you, Tia, I also listened to the audiobook, but I read along, especially towards the latter half. I may have finished this today, not gonna lie. But yeah, I ended up trying to take some notes as I was going through, and I definitely find that to be a really fun experience. I decided that I would do this for the book club picks, because I'm probably going to want to keep them for memory reasons anyway. So annotating, which is something that I'm usually terrified about. But yes, definitely it does discuss some family drama and issues in here for sure. But there's also a lot of other topics that it ended up talking about. And I do have a couple of tabs for some like bigger discussions that I feel like the book talked about that I don't think have clear right or wrongs, which I thought might be fun for us to talk about as well. So I have a couple of tabs for those, because there's the one where you're kind of just like, oh, obviously this is the answer. And then when you think a little bit more about it, or when you think about the same person from a different perspective, or kind of how they internalize certain things, I think we got some pretty good discussions or topics that kind of come from the book. And then I guess the next thing to ask for those of you who have read it so far, I know we do have at least one person here who hasn't read it yet, so I'm still trying to keep things spoiler free at this moment. But what were your thoughts? Did you like it? What kind of rating did you give? Because I think it's kind of fun to get an idea of people's rating just to see how we all feel about this. Obviously, any opinion is okay. I surprisingly ended up really, really loving this. I gave this an easy 5 stars after reading it. I'm not a big fan of YA in general. Like, I don't like a lot of the topics that are discussed in YA. And although I do think that this does touch upon that in some ways, I think it was done so well that I wasn't upset about the things that I normally am. And I think because of the deeper discussions and meanings that were happening behind it, it kind of just worked out in the long run. But yeah, I definitely really enjoyed it. I do know that there is another book in this series. I'm assuming by the cover that it's based off of somebody else, maybe like a cousin or something. I'm not entirely sure. I really want to know more about what the sequel is all about, whether or not it's like a continuation of this one, or if it is, a completely different story. Because usually romances, it's just a different story of somebody who knows somebody in the first story, So I do want to check that out because I think, I don't know, I was just really happy with this. Okay, so we got a solid 4 out of 5 stars. Wanted it to be longer. Yeah, I could see that. I think, I don't know. Yeah, I can see that. I think this book ended up doing a pretty good job being very engaging. I was pretty happy with the length personally, but I can still see that. A 3.5 on Pile, but it felt like it was a 4-star. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I don't know what my rating would be on Pile. I was using that quite a bit in the beginning of the year and kind of dropped off. But yeah, I love that kind of system. I just have a lot to keep up with. No, I can see that. Now I'm like really interested in seeing what my Pile rating is. I guess I'm currently doing the NaNoWriMo week 2 vlog, and maybe after this I might put it in just to see. I'm interested to see if it's going to be different from my gut feeling rating. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what else to talk. Well, actually, I'm sure there's other things that we can talk about before we get into the spoiler bits. But yeah, I I really want to get into all of the things. But yeah, what else? Now I'm floundering. I'm all like, oh, I want to talk about the things, but I want to have more time to discuss the general. I think overall, the vibes here, what kind of vibes would I say this was? There, it definitely has some romance aspects. I don't necessarily say that I loved everything about the romance. I did think it was really cute. I like the characters. I like some of the representation that came from it. So I do recommend it in that realm. But again, I guess, it is a YA. So if you're not into that, that's something to take into consideration. I do know a lot of people like YA though. So that's also good. If this book came out when I was younger, it would have helped me so much. Yes. Okay, that's actually a good point because there were several things in the book along the way that was said that I think was really like powerful and meaningful and that I really appreciated. I was all like, this is good to say to somebody. Like, I'm glad, like I actually made notes in some case where I'm like, I'm glad she said that at that moment. And I'm glad that certain things were handled in certain ways. There was something that did kind of annoy me, but because it wasn't like a jump to situation, I was kind of a little bit more okay with it, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, I guess. But yeah, I think it handled some different topics very well, brought up there were some good quotes. I really wish I was annotating in the first half because I'm sure there were also some pretty good quotes there. But after I got further into it and I started actually like highlighting stuff, like there were some moments where I was like, yes. I guess another thing before we go into spoilers is I ended up doing a color coding system. And for this one, I ended up doing a little like happy things that happen, negative or upsetting things, bigger discussion or topics to talk about, and then like possible story plot things. And as you can see, there were a ton of just happy moments. Obviously, there were some negatives that were sprinkled in because there were some tough topics that were covered in the book. But I did have a lot of feel good moments within it. So I think at this point, because admittedly I'm struggling just a little bit to keep it on the non-spoilers, that we should transition into the spoiler part. I do recommend this for anybody interested. But yeah, right now we're going to go into the spoilers. Thanks everybody who hasn't read it for hanging out with us. And hopefully you'll come back later when you do read it. But yeah, going into spoilers, I'll try maybe to start from the beginning and move back. That's probably not going to happen. But I do want to say, because I'm talking about things that like my rating system, I wanted to go to the first thing that kind of made me happy, my first happy tab, because the first thing I ended up getting was a happy tab on page 5. Now, again, I didn't actually highlight it. Oh yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you do come back. I want to hear your thoughts in, I guess, the comment section of the YouTube instead of the chat. But yes, thank you so much. But the first happy one that I got to was actually when she was talking about her best friend. So for Amelia, and it's funny because it was just like a representation that I really appreciated hearing, like as a Black woman who in general, doesn't always get the best representation in books, if at all. So anytime I hear somebody say something really positive oh no. Oh, did I just cut out? I hope you guys I'm so sorry. I hope you guys are still there. I know there's going to be a little bit of a delay to see. I guess the internet was a little bit low, but it looks like I'm back. Let me know if I'm back. But yeah, I thank you. Yeah, it did glitch for a moment. I'm so sorry about that. It's funny because my internet says it's fine, but a millisecond. Okay, it was just a second. Yeah, it like blinked out and I was all like, wait, no, my internet's okay. What's happening? Okay, yeah. So the representation I really appreciated. So it was all like when she was talking about her friend Amelia, she ended up saying she always looks beautiful. She has flawless dark skin that never blemishes and curly black hair that never seems out of place. She's tall and thin and everything looks good on her, and it's completely unfair, but also like if anyone deserves to be that flawless, it's Amelia. And the thing that I thought, especially now, going back after seeing that and realizing how even though this is like a great moment, it's also a sad moment when you think about like the struggles that she's having. Yeah, this one hits me in multiple ways reading it back at this point, because obviously that was one big thing that she's dealing with and one of the big like issues that's going to happen later in the book. So that was a big one that ended up happening for me. Also, if you guys have any favorite parts of the book, let me know. I think I want to focus on the positive first. I do have not like, I wouldn't say a super negative or anything, especially because, as I said, I do think this is a 5-star for me, but I do have a little bit of a negative that I figured we could talk about a little bit later, but I would love to hear what kind of things that you guys were enjoying. Obviously, I have a bunch. Let me skip ahead because I don't want to do everything like right in the beginning. Oh, actually, maybe I should look at the first bigger conversation moment that I ended up saying. But I do have some like negative moments. A lot of them had to do with the mother, right? Like the issues around the mother, which I guess actually I think relates to the first topic moment. Again, I'm really sad that I didn't highlight the exact line that I was thinking about when I tabbed this. But it's her saying that, she's trying not to let it get to her. I recognize that my mom's thought about her body and mine are not healthy, and yet dot 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 my own relationship with my body is so complicated. So that was something that I thought was an interesting thing to kind of point out. was that idea of feeling upset at how somebody else perceives your body or talks about your body when you also aren't happy with your body, and that kind of that fighting, that internal and external fight that you have when it's like somebody says something negative and you're like, that's not okay. But then you will say the same negative things to yourself and not realize that that's also bad. Well, obviously, we all do it to some degree. I think there's very few of us who don't have these, like negative thoughts that we have. So that is also really natural, but it kind of took it another step. Now I'm trying to like rethink the thoughts that I had, because there were a lot of them around the topic. But then, there's that idea, which has come out through the book. And I think it kind of touches on it a little bit in a few places where, she's talking about like the fat acceptance community. And one of the comments that I ended up saying, because I've seen this, in other places, is that you have obviously the wonderful positivity that comes from that, and a lot of like great support and things that a lot of people definitely need. But then you also have, kind of like the darker side that can happen in like every group, where you have some people who will, promote, unhealthy lifestyles or things like that in the name of that movement, because it is true that we should accept everybody and all of that stuff. But then also, promote healthy ideas. And then it also, on the flip side, which I absolutely love, they pointed out the same thing with her mom, her mom who lost so much weight, and then at the same time was all like doing a lot of unhealthy things. So everybody thinks of her as a health ideal, but she also was unhealthy with how she was doing stuff. So it's like two sides of the coin. And I really appreciated that representation, because it's a super hard topic when you think about it. And yeah, right about her having a mother and not a mom. I think another thing that's so interesting about the mother-daughter relationship is that there were a couple of moments where I really like appreciated the mother. Like she said things that I really appreciated, or she did have moments where it kind of seemed like she cared. But I hated so much. Like most of my upset tabs are around her mom. Like the birthday, don't get me started on the birthday, you guys. Do not get me started on the birthday. That was so upsetting to me. And for some reason, I have a real problem when it comes to birthdays. I was actually reading another book not that long ago that also had a birthday scene that was negative, that I was all like, what is it with people being selfish on other people's birthday? Like that's the only time you're really supposed to be selfless around, like throw away the whole mother. Yes. I am with you on that one. No, I will say, and I don't know if it made it any better, right? Because there were some instances where the mother was just all like, like I'm doing this because I care about you. Or she said all of these positive things to her friends. And it's funny because at that scene, the gym scene, when she actually goes to the gym and they're like, oh, your mother talks about all of this stuff. My comment on the bottom was, I don't know how to feel about this, because I realized that it could easily be one of those scenes or things where she brags for herself but not actually in appreciation of her daughter, where it's all like she's not bragging because she's proud of her daughter. She's bragging because she wants the friends to think she's so great because her daughter is this, that, or the other. And I couldn't tell if that was what was happening there. And then the birthday scene, when she kind of does the same thing in more of a like doing all of this stuff for show for herself, I was all like, yes, she is doing that. And that's so wrong. Like, it was so friggin' frustrating. Let's see if I can find any good like quotes or moments. Oh yeah. I flipped to the first one on page 203 again, around the birthday, and the mother's reply. She's sobbing and saying I don't appreciate her and that I ruined my birthday and I never do anything she wants me to do. And I was just like, this selfish woman that is mad because she did something that her daughter didn't want for her daughter's birthday, and she's mad because her daughter wasn't appreciative of the thing that she didn't even want in the first place. Like, the familial issues. And your mom or your mother figure is supposed to be somebody who's like supportive and loving. So then on the flip side, you had Amelia, right? Amelia and her parents and, you know, their relationship, and how wonderful that she talked to, you know, the mother talked to Amelia and the girls and all of that, and being super supportive. And then you had obviously her mom, who was not so great. Yeah, her, her mother. Yeah, her mother. Yeah, it was really selfish what she did on the whole birthday. I really have to. I hate to say this because I absolutely love my mom, and my mom is super supportive and super loving and all of that stuff. So like saying this is like, I'm like, no, my mom is not like this. But there were some things about her mom that did remind me of my own, because my mom tends to sometimes not think necessarily about how something will affect me. She'll be like really in on herself and be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's your birthday. I want you to spend it with me because I want to see you, even though I'm not going to do anything you want to do. Like, that is something that I could relate to, even though thank God my mom is like really, really amazing when it comes to like support. But like seeing stuff like that and seeing that parallel was just like so much for me. Like every single time the mother entered the scene, I rolled my eyes like, here we go again. Yes, 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 yes. The fact that she got grounded. Okay. I know we were supposed to be focusing on the positives, but like we're on the mom, and like this woman gets on my nerves. But like the fact that when she grounded her, and like, don't get me wrong, yeah, I guess she talked back. I get like that's not cool to do to your mother and whatever. Although she was making some good points about her opinions and how she felt in the anyway. It's hard. It's hard for me to say because I know she's a kid, that's her mom, whatever. But her mom was wrong in so many situations. But the fact that she grounded her for just like the way she did, she was just all like, oh, you're grounded for an indefinite amount of time. We'll figure out eventually. I'm going to ghost you during this whole entire time until I'm like over it. And then I'm not going to let you work. That was so weird to me. Like, why would that be part of your punishment? Being all like, I'm going to take away all of your fun things. And the only way that you can kind of like, I don't know, like working, especially as a teenager, is a learning thing. Like, that's something positive. That's something you wouldn't think a parent would take away because they're mad at their kid. I don't know. It just, I didn't understand that one. But yeah, there were a lot of bits in here. And then I guess also talking about additional kind of negative / questions that I ended up having. I will say, now I loved the relationship between her and her bestie. And when the issues were starting to happen where she was kind of, focusing on Brian a lot. I totally get that. I was all like, well, that's how, people are in their first relationships. They're not very considerate about other things. They're like consumed with that. So, like, I get it. But I knew that it was going to be a problem with their relationship or her friendship. Sorry. And I was like, I'm not looking forward to this. Like, this is the type of YA thing that I don't necessarily enjoy like reading about, because I don't know, I'm just I just don't want to deal with it, I guess. But I will say that I appreciated that, at least in the beginning, before like shit hit the fan, that her friend was relatively understanding. Like, even though she was upset, she didn't like completely push her away right off the bat. Like, it kind of slowly started happening. And, you could tell that she was having issues with things, but, she was still like, yeah, of course you can join the thing. Like, I'm not going to be a jerk, until she was. Which was like pretty upsetting to me when they did actually have the big fight and the falling out moment, because I was just all like, man, that is rough that she would say that to her friend who obviously has these like big insecurities. But then I realized, especially once that whole thing was resolved, that one of Charlie's big problem is that she actually didn't talk to her friend about these insecurities that she had. Like, her best friend, who would share her own fears and feelings in certain situations, she wouldn't talk about the things that made her uncomfortable. So there was a lot of scenes, especially, okay, talking about this, and I get it, like, I'm not trying to harp on Charlie. She's, a kid, you deal with things in different ways. But there was also that scene where she was trying to get I don't know if it was the birthday outfit or whatever, with her mom, and her mom took her to the store that she knew she couldn't fit anything. Like, and then she had the nerve after the fact to say, like, oh, I didn't know. Even though Charlie mentions that this was the same thing that her mom used to complain about when she was larger. I was like, how you don't forget that. Like, even if you lose weight, you're not just going to immediately, because she hasn't been skinny for that long. She's not immediately going to forget the struggle and the frustration of not being able to find things in your size at most department stores. Like, that was like a humiliation tactic. And what I was getting at is that I was a little bit bummed that Charlie didn't say anything, right? Like, she would just, I don't know, just like suffer through these things with her mother and with even her best friend. Like, when her best friend did the same thing, or would say, like, you can wear my clothes, or she would go shopping with her, you would think at some point she would mention it. And then, later the whole thing with the mom happened, and I was just irritated at the mom. So I was just like, oh, just say something. Yeah. Like, yes, exactly. I wanted her to speak up. Now, obviously, that is the point of the book, is that she didn't do that in the beginning. And obviously at the end, she started to learn for herself, but it was frustrating. Like, I was frustrated when she would be in these situations where, yeah, like, people should know, but they're not going to if you never really talk to them about that kind of stuff. So, like, I just really wanted her to speak up and let people know, especially those who actually cared for her, like her friend. Granted, her friend messed up pretty bad. Like, I was pretty mad at that, especially because I felt like she did such a good job of supporting and caring for her friend through all of these things. And then she gets a little bit jealous, and all of a sudden she's kind of shitty. like I feel like it switched relatively quick. I don't know if it was as believable, because I feel like her, but then again, trying to like benefit of the doubt, she didn't know as like how bad her friend's insecurities were related to her, which I guess then leads me to the thing that I think bothered me the most when I was reading it, and not the way that everything else, like with her mom, did, like the things that were meant, the things that were meant to bother me. This was something that I don't know if I was supposed to be bothered by it, but it was actually her friends. Let's see if I actually have any of them marked off. but it was her response to when Charlie admitted how she felt about her best friend and how she felt overshadowed by her and all of that. I was baffled at how her friend, now I'm like forgetting her name, Amelia, I think, how quick she was to kind of turn it on herself. Like she ended up being so upset finding that whole thing out to the point where the first time they were talking about it, she was all like, I can't right now. Can we not talk about this? And I was like, wait, your friend just admitted that she, is basically jealous about you. She feels overshadowed. She feels like she's not as good as you, all of these things. And your response is, I can't handle this right now. Let's not talk about it. That was just weird to me. And then I know, later it kind of gets into it a little bit more. But like at that point, I was like, it's not about you. Like, am I missing something? I was like, this isn't about you right now. Like, it is true that it must hurt knowing that your best friend has felt this way and that she wasn't comfortable enough to talk to you about it. Like, I do get that. But like the response in the moment seemed like wrong to me. And I was like, that's a weird one. So that was kind of the only thing in the whole story. Well, no, I guess also how quick she was to break up with her boyfriend because of that situation. Again, that was the whole like point, and romance stories always have that stupid moment where they like break up for a ridiculous reason, and this counted as that. I think, I don't think too much about that because I actually do really like romance books. I know I haven't been reading a ton of them on the channel recently because I've been like delving into other genres, but because of that, I'm like super forgiving to a lot of the romance tropes. So that didn't bother me as much, even though it was kind of annoying. I was just all like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I do like their interactions, even though it was really sad for him. And I have to say that I loved Brian as a love interest because not only was he a little bit on the chubby side, but he was also Korean. And since you don't really get Asian and Black, I feel like those are the least represented male, like romance partners. Actually, I guess that's not true because you also like, I don't think I see very many Indian, Asian, or Black romance male leads or love interests in a lot of books. So seeing that, and then also specifically somebody who was a little bit on the chubby side, even though I didn't really see that, I feel like guys do sometimes get away with that a little bit more in life in general, but not so much in romance books. So I think that was nice representation. So I realized Amelia telling Charlie, good example of someone else not speaking up and being jealous of a friend. But on the side, it's not all about you. It was Amelia's time and she couldn't handle it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, okay. So there was, I think, yeah. I think that was something that was nice, though, later on when Amelia admitted why she reacted so badly. And she had that realization where she was just all like, I couldn't deal with you having somebody else, like being interested in somebody else other than me. And, like I felt like I was losing something. And I'm like, I kind of get that. That is a thing that happens in friendships, but it was pretty selfish. But I think the thing that kind of got me was, like how hard it was for her to hear her friend admit something so hard, which also goes back to the issues with Charlie and her mom, right? When her mom was all like, why didn't you tell me about your boyfriend? And it was all like, because this is how you reacted. It's kind of like, it's hard to have these conversations with people that you're close with when their reactions to something that's real or important or that bothers you or you care about is not the best reactions. So yeah, I feel like we went through a lot of good things in here. I guess I think all of the big discussion topics that we ended up going through for the most part were around weight, which we talked about a lot in the beginning here, or in the beginning before we got into The mommy issues. Oh, another thing that I really liked, one of the other positives that I got was when they were talking about her dad, which was also really sad, obviously, because it was in context of like, oh, my dad before he passed away. And then also, even her mom, when her mom talked about her dad and how, when she's dating and she couldn't find somebody else like him. And then, having that horrible fight. Okay, yeah, here's one of the positive things that she did was when she was saying, appreciate, don't let anybody, like devalue you or something, appreciate you yourself no matter what, something like that. And I really appreciated that, especially because that was the moment where Amelia was upset about Sid basically breaking up with her because she wouldn't put out, right? She was like, I love you. And he was all like, okay, well, then we're going to have sex, right? She's like, okay. And then she was like, actually, I'm not ready. And he was like, well, bye. And I was just all like, it sounded like when she was talking to Charlie about all of that, it sounded like she was going to get back with him. And I was all like, please, Lord, no. Don't let that be where this story goes. And the mom came in and was all like, men kind of suck. And you have to make sure that you don't put yourself down or, like devalue. I really wish I could find that literal quote, but, you don't belittle yourself for somebody else, like you need to be appreciated. And her talking about how her, husband was always, this wonderful guy and you should, try and get that. And I was just like, that is a good moment from the mom, even though there were a lot of not good moments. That was a good moment. I didn't know how to explain Charlie's relationship with Mila. I couldn't call it jealousy. It was more like she needed Amelia like a crutch. Amelia kept the bullies and the teasers away. Oh, that's a good thought, right? Yeah, but at this, yeah. Well, I don't know because all she did was compare herself to Amelia, right? Like that was the big problem is that she couldn't see herself outside of Amelia's shadow. And granted, like at the same time, I'm all like, yeah, some of that's on her. She's seeing things, but it's all like, but the reality is that's how people are. Like society is like that. If somebody is a little bit on the larger side, even if they're friggin' gorgeous, they're more likely to be overlooked by a, skinnier counterpart. And so even though like the message was kind of all like, believe in yourself and, don't compare yourself to other people, which I really appreciated. It's also kind of to some degree a lie. Like that is so important and it means so much and it's going to make you so happy believing in yourself, focusing on yourself and not letting other people affect you. But obviously what I'm trying to say, the lie part is that unfortunately society sucks and there are people who see certain things and feel certain ways. So I did appreciate that in the, the beginning of the book, it felt like it kind of hinted at that. I don't know, I kind of almost wish the like resolution wasn't kind of, like, oh, this isn't an issue, you just think it's an issue. I feel like that resolution to Charlie's problem and, the reason why she like broke up with her boyfriend almost devalued all of the crap that she had gone through, which was like super legit real things, right? Like, I don't know. Is it me? Am I like misinterpreting that or something? Because like it did feel that way. Like the book was really setting you up to be like, yeah, she's going through all of these really harsh things. And then she has this like falling out with her best friend over a stupid, well, okay. over a stupid reason in the grand scheme of things, but her friend did like the fact that she ended up, kind of just like, I'm over you and, I'm going to say these things that I know is going to hurt you, which I guess people do. Like it happens. It's, it doesn't mean the end of the world. But I couldn't help but be like, she had to know her friends' insecurities. Like, I feel like if you're best friends with somebody, whether or not they talk about it, you should know to some degree that they are not happy with their weight, that they're not comfortable with their weight. Like if they are the way that Charlie was. She was relatively shy for the most part. She had a crush on a guy who obviously liked her best friend. Like she definitely had some self-love problems, you know? She needed to love herself some more. Although I guess the crush on the guy it's hard to say because like that's something that just happens sometimes. But I mean like I don't know. She was worth so much more than that. And she clearly didn't see it. And I always loved when Amelia would be like, wait, but you're great. You know, you're amazing. You're awesome. You're all of these things. And I think it is nice on the flip side that, you know, Crystal Maldonado. I hope I didn't butcher it. I'm so bad with names, but I hope she, you know, like with what she was trying to say, how you know like how you perceive your how you perceive yourself versus other people and how you can accept things in other people that you don't accept in yourself, and kind of saying like comparing these two different people, a larger, you know, less confident girl Charlie and then a skinnier, more confident girl Amelia, and saying that they both had issues. I think that was a really strong message and I really appreciated that. And then I thought about the other comparison, which had to do with a magazine. No, of course I forgot the scene. He didn't even remember that he shot his shot with Amelia last year. LOL. I mean, he's a man. Amelia is overtly pretty. I get it. I agree. Like that reasoning was so stupid for a breakup. Like it was so dumb. And I did appreciate that he was all like, no, I never did. And she was like, last year. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah. But it's like clearly he didn't care if he didn't even remember that he did it. I don't necessarily know why that had to be part of the story, but I did kind of appreciate the like things aren't the fairy tale, this, that, and the other. Which reminds me, somebody ended up mentioning that it was nice that she was a writer. I also really appreciated that. I don't exactly know where it was. That was a while ago. I think I missed it. It's funny because I read it and I was like, yes, but I was in the middle of saying something else and then got off track. But yes, I loved that Charlie was into writing, which was extra special because I'm currently doing NaNoWriMo, the National Novel Writing Month in November. And so she was talking about how she was getting ready to write that story for the little competition thingy, and how she was like, oh yes, I like to set the mood and I basically create a whole vibe. And I was all like, yes, sister, go. Because that's one of the things that they end up saying. So it was Tia. Yes. That's one of the things they say you should do when you're trying to get into the habit of doing something and keep up with something, is kind of set up a like routine and a system and a place to get you in the mood. And the fact that she like mentioned that, I was so scared that the whole relationship, she was going to not only, which I ended up being right about, but like not only, you know, create hardships with her friendship, you know, her best friend, but I also thought that she was going to miss turning in that story. Like she wasn't going to write on her story, and I was going to be so annoyed if that's what happened. But I'm so glad that even though she was struggling with it, that she did actually like work on it, even though she did deliver it a day late. The fact that she had worked on it beforehand didn't make that upsetting to me. Like I would have been really annoyed if she had held off until the very end to actually do it. But that was so relatable. I really appreciated that. And that just in general, anytime a book talks about somebody who loves books, they went to her house and she was talking about like her room and her little like bookcase and, you know, all the books that she had and this, that, and the other. And I was all like, yes, books. I feel like that's always one of the like easy ways for a writer to make a reader relate to a character, because most readers like books because we're reading the book. So I've been noticing that a lot in books lately, because one of my characters, slightly off topic, one of my characters is a writer. So or maybe I'm still working on it. That may change, but definitely reads books and likes books and stuff. So I was all like, oh, do all characters like that? Like, is that super, super noticeable? Because I've really just read like 3 books back to back where that was like a prominent part in them. And I was like, oh, maybe, maybe I should reconsider some things, but I don't know. We'll see. I do like that element personally. All right. Well, I think those are all of the main things that I really wanted to cover. Is there anything else that you guys like wanted to touch on, or any like questions that you had or thoughts for the book? This has been a lot of fun. First off, thank you everybody who has been in like joining us. I kind of, not gonna lie, I kind of wish that I wrote down some thoughts or made a separate tabs for the specific ones that I wanted to read, because clearly these are a lot to go through, and this is great for me to like reference and see, you know, how much of whatever I did, because they're color code coordinated. But trying to find specific things when you have this many tabs is not really happening. If I remember correctly, the mother never read the book entry. I felt a sort of way about that. You mean for the little contest that she did? It's funny because I was actually worried that the mom would read that contest entry, since it was related to the issues that she had with her mom. And I was like, oh my God, watch her mom read something of hers finally, and then complain that her daughter is painting her in a negative light, even if it's not directly, you know, her and her mom situation. Like I was like, sure, she was gonna read it, and there was gonna be a whole problem, because it seemed like anything related to the mom ended up being super negative. So I was kind of glad that that didn't happen, but at the same time, you're like, right, like it would have been nice for her to have seen that. But it didn't seem like when her daughter mentioned like real legit things that she did listen. I think there was that one moment after she had like the fight with Amelia that she said something with her mom, and she was all like, I don't know, she said something that it seemed like her mom may have taken to heart. And I also always appreciated when her mom would like cook food for her. I was like, okay, that's kind of a moment, but it wasn't enough, unfortunately. Like I don't feel like her mom ever really like made up for how negative of an influence she was in Charlie's life. I seriously wanted her to read it and know that it was about her. Okay, you know, I get that. I get that with the passion. I guess because I was so invested. That's the kind of thing I usually think in YAs that I'm a little bit more annoyed with. But I was so invested that I was also like, although part of me wants the mom to really know and listen about how she is making her daughter feel, which I think there was kind of that conversation. I also was just all like, I don't want Charlie to get in trouble for something she shouldn't get in trouble for. Hashtag fashion. No, mom only cooked the good food when she also wanted attention from Charlie. Oh, you think so? I don't know. I felt like she only cooked the good food as an attempt to make up for bad behavior, right? Like, well, I don't know if that's 100% true, because there were some instances where Charlie, you know, like something really sad or bad happened to her. You know, like when the first dude like tricked her. I knew something like that was going to happen when she was all like, I didn't hear what he said. And then she asked him to repeat it, and it was like one line. I was all like, we're still missing information. Like I knew that wasn't going to work out very well, but I was so mad that the mom was all like, what? The popular guy? Like, how on earth would the popular guy be into you? Like, excuse you, you're the mom. You're supposed to be your kid's cheerleader, even if the things aren't fully believable. But like, there's no reason. Like, Charlie's pretty. Like, I don't know. Anyway, This is really specific, but I really like the hashtag fat fashion on social media she went to, and it helped her in self-love with seeing bodies similar to her. Yes. Yes. Okay, yes, I agree with that. That's that is something that I actually do really, really appreciate with those kind of like movements where it comes to, like, I don't know, like I feel like especially I know I personally, because I am a little bit on the bigger side. I think they call it like mid-size. I'm in the plus size category, but at the very bottom. So like I struggle between because sometimes the clothes are too big, but regular clothes are usually too small for me at this point. And then also I have two different weights, right? So like I'm smaller on the top and bigger on the bottom. um, and so I personally love finding and following people with different body types that are, like take nice photos and do fashion and share off outfits and stuff like that. Like also like I'm really into vintage clothing. And so like trying to find vintage clothing, like actual vintage clothing in bigger sizes is not where it's at. But anyway, yeah, I also agree. I really appreciated that she had a place that she can go because I noticed, and like this is also true, off topic, my bad, but this is also true for just like looking for things with minority representation. I go on Pinterest and it's taken so long for my Pinterest to prioritize minorities and bigger figures and things. And I mean, like, I still think it struggles with the bigger figures, but it's starting to actually like promote Black people basically on my Pinterest, because for ages I would like constantly search and try and find that. And like anytime you would click on it, basically you would slowly get out of it because it would start promoting less and less minorities or colors or people of color, yada, yada, yada. And just like recently I get to my homepage and I'm all like, I see my people. Like I see us. But it's still, predominantly on the skinny side. Depending on what type of fashion, because I'm really into like dark academia or, like cottage core vibes or, like Victorian aesthetics or 1930s and 40s, like vintage, yada, yada, yada. And those genres tend to promote thinner women in general. So that can get real frustrating. I wanted to throw the book when the mother was hinting that Brian was too fat to be dating her daughter. Yes. Yes, 100%. Which is again why I was like, when she was all like, why didn't you tell me after being so disrespectful to the boy? And I mean, I did appreciate at the end that she encouraged her daughter to get back with Brian. But again, like, even though the mom sort of realized to some degree that she was a problem, I don't think she had enough of a growth for it to really redeem her, right? Like, yeah, she was promoting her daughter to get back with the boy, but she still didn't seem like she was necessarily rooting for it. She was just all like, oh, I know it's what you want. I don't agree, but you should do it. Like that's kind of what it felt like at the end of the book, where she's like, oh, I'll be a little bit more accepting of you as a person, but I don't like it. Like eye roll. But yeah, so I love how this live stream has really been a Charlie Vega's mom sucks. Just bashing on her mom, which I mean, like, seriously, I'm not lying that most of my red flags, they're pink, but that was my thought process. Most of my red flags in here were the mom. Like most of the I didn't like that flag was around the mom, because like even though for instance like the dude that called her like an elephant or whatever, like that was trash. That was seriously trash. And I didn't like that. Like I didn't like that. Or the guys who like squeezed past her when she was younger and like made a big comment about how it was so hard to get around her and that's when she realized she was fat or whatever. I hated those, but I didn't hate those as much as I hated the person that's supposed to be there for her being a bully, basically. Like, it's her mom. That's supposed to be the person that loves and like I again, too much information. Like, I have had issues with my mom over the years, but the one thing I can always say is that my mom has always loved and supported me, right? Like, it doesn't matter whatever problems we have, if we butt heads or whatever about stupid things, I've always had that support. And to see in books and stories, and again, I think this is another reason why I don't like YA, is because it's just really infuriating to me seeing the like real. And it's good for people who are experiencing the same thing to, like have somebody else going through it. But it's so upsetting to me personally to see kids that have to go through stuff like that. Like, it's not okay. It really isn't. Like I said, throw the whole mom away. Bye, Felicia. Because she was the biggest negative of the book. That is true. That is true. And with the biggest impact, like, it was worse that she was negative because she was supposed to be a positive influence in the life. And it's also just made it really sad. I know they didn't focus on it, but it also made me even more sad that her dad passed away, because apparently he was supportive. He was the one that was there for her. He was everything that her mom should have been, but wasn't. And he was no longer around. And that like almost made it a little worse. Like, knowing that she had that before, and then now all she has is her mom who wants her to be anything than what she is, And I know like some of it, or at least they were trying to say that some of it was, again, Charlie's perception of how things were, and not exactly, trying to have it be like, oh no, the only reason why I always invited Amelia to things is because I didn't want you to be alone. And it's all like, yeah, but like, you clearly favor her in some ways. Like, even if part of it is because you want your daughter to have somebody, that doesn't change the fact that you clearly prefer the skinnier friend in certain situations. Like, I don't know. Like, damn. But yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I did like some of the like romance things that were happening in their relationship. It was cheesy, it was cute. There were some things that I thought were really nice. I liked him as a love interest. I mean, like, he's, a kid, not my thing, but you know what I mean? Like, he seemed like a good guy. I appreciated that for her, and I liked that representation a lot, and I thought that they were really cute together. I also liked right off the bat when they were working together, when she was just so open with him, and I really appreciated that. Like, her even being all like, oh, I'm going to the dance with so and so and I've had a crush on him. And I mean, like, yeah, obviously that's sad because, right, you don't really want to talk about that with somebody who might be a potential like love interest, but because she was open about those stuff and, treated him as a friend first, I feel like their relationship ended up being better, which is also why it was so shady that she just like ghosted him. Like, not a fan like, at all. Like, shame on you, Charlie. And I did appreciate that her friend was all like, at least have the decency to tell him, like, break up with him or whatever, because he's a good guy. And she was like, yeah, he is a good guy, but I'm gonna anyway. Yeah, overall, I did really enjoy it. I like the representation. I like the conversations that were happening. There were definitely several different, things that came up that I was all like, that's like a point. Oh yeah, there's one. It could be difficult for me to look at paintings like this, at bodies like this, and see that they are beautiful, but still sometimes struggle to see myself in the same positive light. So this is when her and Brian were at the museum, and one of the painters that painted larger women, she was like, yeah, yes, that was one of the big ones, which I was like, that's a really good point, and it's a really big struggle. But it was like, yes, I see that. I see the other woman, and I can appreciate another woman being larger and being beautiful and accepting that and finding and like, this is something that I feel, and I'm like small in the grand scheme of things, but like, I see women who are larger than me who I'll be like, you go, girl, like looking good, and be like so positive and so open and just think all of these positive things towards their bodies. And then I'll like see myself and be like, you really need to lose some weight, like whatever. And the fact that they literally called that out, I was like, yes, people feel that way. Like that's a legit thing. And making that point, that like having somebody struggle with themselves, one, doesn't mean that they necessarily, hate everybody else. But also having that like internal thing, and which is why it's really important to like love bodies and promote health. And that health does not mean skinny. Like that's a big thing. Healthy does not mean skinny. And that is something, that's a problem. They didn't actually really touch on that too much, aside from that like one comment pointing out that her mom, even though now she's skinny, she's doing some unhealthy things. I appreciated that, but I kind of wish they, pushed it a little bit more. I hated that the mom was just like, she was like, I lost weight, so you should too. I don't know, whatever. Brian didn't deserve the ghosting, poor thing, right? Like, poor guy. It's so sad. But that out of the way, I guess I will give you guys a sneak peek to the next books. I think I'm probably going to do a separate video for the announcements. We have reached basically the end of our time. So I do want to say a big thank you to everybody who has joined. This was a ton of fun. I definitely was a little bit afraid, especially I started off super nervous, but it's always fun being able to like chat with you guys and like have a good time. Now, I don't think I'm going to, commit. I don't think I'm going to commit to live shows every month because it's just like way too stressful for me to do like this. But I do think I'm going to do spoiler videos for the book clubs on the months that I don't do a live show. Or maybe for a little while, I'll just do the spoiler videos, and then sometimes I'll do the live show, and then we'll do like a premiere so we can still talk about it. I also really want to utilize Discord. I say this all the time, but I really do. I'm still super bad at it. We're gonna try. So hopefully we can have discussions about these on Discord as well. That being said, for December, I'm thinking of doing a Latsaway for our book club, the POC book club, because I know this was super popular last year and a lot of people really liked it. So I think this would be a good one for December. And for some reason, it feels wintry, and that's kind of what I was going for. And for the same thing for January, I don't have February yet because I want it to be by a Black author and maybe romance, and I don't have a good one that I really want to do yet. But for January, also feeling a little bit wintry, I thought we can go with Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. So these are the two plans for now. Once I figure out February's, I will probably do a official, these are the next 3 picks video. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that is the current plan. I might just do a post, in all honesty, of them instead of doing a full-on video and just mention it in like my vlog. But if you have any ideas for the February book, let me know. Again, I'm trying to focus on, oh, you know what I realized? Oh no, I'm so sorry if somebody didn't stick around this long. It's probably not a good idea for this to be the January pick. I probably should pick a book by a Black author for January and February because oh no, actually, never mind. Never mind. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. This is how I actually am. You guys usually don't see this in videos because I cut it out. Here is the uncensored, unfiltered. This is how my brain works. Because I'm going to be doing the videos, the spoiler videos instead of a live stream, I can actually read these in the months that they're at, so it won't be an issue. But I do still want to make sure that February is a book by a Black author. So I have to figure that one out. And then hopefully some more. I want to buy more POC books because my POC bookshelf, TBR, is getting kind of slim. And I have some books that I'm not super excited about. on it anymore. So yeah, I'm so bad at Discord. Yeah, me too, which is sad because I really want to have a good way to like keep up with you guys. I keep trying to be like, let's do this and get better at it. And I'll go in and I'll chat and then I won't check it for a while because like anxiety. Anyway, I was supposed to hop off a couple of minutes ago, but I just want to keep talking to you guys. So yeah, at this point, I think this is where we're going to end it. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. I really hope everybody enjoyed Fat Chance Charlie Vega. If you're watching this in the future after the live show, let me know what you thought in the comment section of the YouTube channel. This should stay up for people who are coming back in the future. And yes, and thank you so much for, sorry, I got distracted. Thank you so much for being awesome, and I will catch you in the next video. Until next time, bye. End broadcast.